All right, y'all. The video you've been waiting for. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. If you have not already subscribed, go ahead and do that below. But today, I'm going through my comprehensive list of every single 2021 free agent that I think would be a great fit for the Brooklyn Nets. As mentioned in previous videos, the Nets are pretty limited in what they can do this offseason, really only able to offer out minimum contracts or the tax-paying mid-level exception. And for this video, I've isolated three positions of need. The first being a low usage backup center that can roll to the rim to create vertical gravity and help out on the glass, and also give the Nets some different defensive scheming options so that they aren't just exclusively switching or using players like Blake Griffin, who, let's just call him vertically limited, in schemes like drop coverage, which require the big to just be very large and physically imposing in the paint. The second position of need is a backup point guard, and then the third is more 3-and-D wings. Whether those wings are guard size or much bigger wing size, it really doesn't matter. But you know what does matter? Grooming yourself without cuts. And that's why Manscaped designed their Lawnmower 4.0 with a ceramic blade to reduce accidents. Manscaped's latest state-of-the-art trimmer is waterproof for those that like to shave in the shower, wireless with 90 minutes of charging. Its travel lock is built for those always on the go. The Lawnmower 4.0 allows you to customize your trim with guard length sizes 1 through 4, and it features a 400K spotlight. To get your hands on the best grooming tools a man can get so that you can break into the stratosphere, head to manscaped.com and use my code MattBrooksNBA for 20% off and free shipping. That's MattBrooksNBA at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. All right, on to my list. And for the record, I tried to put these players in order of preference, so let's get started with the bigs. Taj Gibson may have been New York's second best player in the postseason, and even after all these years, he's such a great defender that can clean up mistakes on the offensive glass. His block and steal percentage rank high at his position, and he's a super serviceable role man. This may be a little bit of a long shot, I don't know. Maybe he is a mid-level exception type player, but all in all, he's just such a solid player. Daniel Theis is an incredibly solid backup that can finish at the rim. He can also pop to the mid-range on a pretty steady diet, and he can sort of stretch to 3. He's been an incredibly solid defender his entire career, able to play the cat and mouse game in the drop coverage, and at this point in his career, occasionally hang on switches. He's basically been a rotation guy on playoff rosters for his entire NBA career, and I've liked Theis's game for a long time. He's just incredibly balanced. At just 28 years old, Cody Zeller is one of the more underrated players in the league. He can roll to the rim, he can rebound on both sides of the ball, and while he isn't elite at protecting the basket, he does his job well enough. Plus, it sounds like he'd be interested in taking a reduced role. I'm looking at, in my mind, a team that's the top 4 in their conference is, they're playing for home court advantage. They aren't playing to make the playoffs. They're playing to have home court advantage, and then anything can happen once you get in the playoffs. In my mind, that's a winning team. And even, like I said, even if that means me playing 15, 20 minutes as a backup center on a team like that, that would be my ideal role in free agency. Khem Birch was unbelievable after signing to the Raptors on a buyout, putting up incredibly balanced numbers across the board. I'd assume Toronto wants to bring him back, but if not, what a steal Khem Birch could be for Sean Marks. Robin Lopez is just fun. While he isn't much of a roller, that hook shot is must-watch television. Plus, he graded out well defensively. Opponents shot just 51% around the rim against Lopez, a top 7 mark among rotation bigs. Speaking of great rim protection, JaVale McGee technically graded out as the second best paint protector behind only Draymond Green, according to Second Spectrum's defensive field goal percentage. He's historically graded out as a really solid role man, and in spite of the sometimes goofy plays, he is an experienced vet. Plus, we cannot understate the connection to Kevin Durant. Dwayne Dedmon had moments on the Heat. They were significantly stingy on defense, at least statistically when he was on the floor, and he shot like incredibly well from the field. Can he replicate that performance? I don't know, but if options get limited, it's worth the flyer. Just to let you know, I'm going to be mentioning long shots for every single position, and I feel obligated to mention mention Nerlens Noel and JaMychal Green. Green, of course, who just turned down his player option for the upcoming season. Both guys should have a lot of suitors, and because of that, again, I see them as long shots. And then I'm just gonna get ahead of this now, Serge Ibaka. I'm a little worried about the back injury. I just don't know if I feel great about bringing in yet another guy with injury concerns into this core in such a big year. And then Dwight Howard, a little bit of history there with James Harden, so we're gonna stay away from that. All right, let's talk some backup point guards. Spoiler alert, but Patty Mills is maybe my favorite free agent, period. He is lights out from deep. I think the best thing about Patty Mills' shooting is that it seamlessly allows him to play with the stars, alleviating any worries about staggering minutes. I've always found him to be a feisty defender, especially when navigating screens. And after years of toiling away on the post-championship Spurs, why not come to a contender for a chance at another ring? If the Miami Heat decline the team option of Goran Dragic, I mean, holy cow, talk about an amazing veteran fit for the Brooklyn Nets. I'd say he's probably a better facilitator than anybody I've got listed for backup point guard options. And the three ball has always been a relative threat, even with that slow release. I think he'd look awesome in a reduced role. His playing time cut from nearly 27 minutes a game to a super energized low 20s. Lou Williams is the preeminent sixth man, and he was awesome in this year's playoffs. All signs point to him wanting to stay in Atlanta, but if not, the Nets could always use a bucket off the bench. Austin Rivers is yet another bucket off the bench. And as a Nugget, he swung Game 3 of the first round series against the Portland Trail Blazers with 16 points in the fourth quarter. He's probably the best defender on my list of backup point guards, and he could easily slide over to the wing position when sharing the court with the stars. Raul Neto's season caught me off guard. 39% from 3 is something, and making 49% of his floaters on a healthy diet helps combat his size issues. Consider me impressed. And then finally, yet another Wizards guard. I've always liked Ish Smith. And even at 33 years old, he is fast as hell. He had some big games for the Wizards. Those 17 points against the Boston Celtics in the play-in game was very needed. Okay, we got through my point guards, and look, I know we are in a shortage, but let's get into wings. That was such a bad joke. If the Nets lose Jeff Green to the Milwaukee Bucks like Adrian Wojnarowski and Zach Lowe indicated, then Rudy Gay could be about as good of a replacement as it gets. Defensively, he's one of the few wings on my list that can play the 5 in small ball units, which we know the Nets love to do in high leverage games. Shooting 38% from 3 on 4.4 attempts is exactly what you're looking for, and he's made great strides to improve as a pick and pop player. Plus, I'm sure there are still post-up and isolation abilities in there somewhere. After all, we saw how freely LaMarcus Aldridge played after fleeing San Antonio for Brooklyn. I'm just saying, he was able to play a little bit more loosely. Rudy Gay is going to a contender to make an impact. I can just feel it. So why wouldn't that team be the Brooklyn Nets? Torrey Craig played real deal minutes on a finals team. Let that sink in for a second. Long regarded as a strong defensive player, even playing some small ball 5 this season, Craig had himself a nice regular season shooting the long ball, and an even better postseason. Simply put, Torrey Craig is the epitome of 3-and-D. I had Kent Bazemore on my list last year, and he immediately rewarded my faith in him by shooting 40% from 3 while grading out positively as a defender. And sure, he's more of a shooting guard type wing than one that can play center, but look, the dude is just a really good player. Trevor Ariza was a nice acquisition for the Miami Heat. A positive impact defender who shot 35% from 3. My biggest concern with him, he's 36. I'm lower on Otto Porter than most, primarily because of injury. He played just 30 games last year and then 14 the year before. Porter Jr.'s been a great three-point shooter for ages. Injuries have cost him some zip, and he's frankly just a slower player now, giving me a little bit of pause about him defending guards or quicker wings, and the numbers on him defensively support that tentativeness. But you know the best thing about him? He's just 28 years old. He's got time to find himself again. Wesley Matthews was also on my list last year, and I feel the same way about him as I did a year ago. He's big, strong, and ideally can have a better shooting performance in better spacing. Speaking of the Lakers, Markieff Morris is basically the poor man's Jeff Green. Can he shoot? Sometimes. Can he defend? not really. But hey, he can at least play the 5 and he's solid for the minimum. Nets fans should be familiar with David Nwaba's defense. He was arguably the best wing defender they've had in years. His three-point shooting fell off a cliff this season, which was always my worry with him, but at the very least, there is familiarity between Nwaba and the Nets. I have to mention Nick Batum, Reggie Bullock, and PJ Tucker as just totally awesome wing defenders that will likely have long lines of suitors. Batum and Tucker especially just feel like long shots. And then here's your curveball, a sleeper if you will. What if the Nets were to offer Victor Oladipo a minimum contract to rehabilitate his image on a contending team? He's still a great defender, and while injuries have limited his downhill creativity, he can still do stuff with the ball in his hand. The upside is tantalizing for the Nets, and maybe for Oladipo as well. And if it doesn't work out, it's low risk. If I had to go through and list my top 6 free agents, 2 at every position, I'd probably go Patty Mills at number 1, Taj Gibson at number 2, 3 would be Rudy Gay, 4 I have Goran Dragic, 5 Daniel Tice, and then 6 Torrey Craig. In the comments below, let me know your favorite free agents and if I missed anybody. And thank you again to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. But with that, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe, and go ahead and share this video on Twitter and Reddit. If you enjoyed my ramblings, follow me on Twitter, I ramble there as well, and enjoy the NBA draft and free agency. It should be a good time. But that's all I've got today, folks. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace!